traditional British approach to education is holistic. The classroom is important, but so is art, sport, and the great outdoors. Grades matter, but most important of all is instilling core moral values that help students navigate the decades ahead. A British education, particularly in previous generations, was also tough, even gruelling at times. From 1949 to 1976, the outward-bound Moray Sea School adopted this approach in a windy, isolated Scottish peninsula. Students tested themselves in different forms of adventure training, including rock climbing, canoeing and expeditions. It was a very British institution. The ideals of resilience, adaptability and fair play that it instilled were universal, designed to foster the spirit of leadership in young people, whichever field they went into. In 1968, Moray welcomed a remarkable student, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, Vice President of the UAE and ruler of Dubai. Now, previously confidential documents from the British archives shed new light on his visit to the UK in 1968, of which Moray was an important part. With friends in London, the beginning of Sheikh Mohammed's visit was spent partly in Cambridge, improving his English. Despite enjoying the city, he chose not to spend too much time there because, according to a Foreign Office correspondence, he would prefer to go somewhere where he was obliged to talk English and where there were few or no other foreigners. The second stage of his trip saw him complete the tough adventure training in Moray. A handbook on what students should bring gave a sense of what was to come. Clothing receives really hard wear. The stronger and rougher it is, the better. Sheikh Mohammed also got what he wanted in terms of practicing English. He was the only non-native speaker there. Tough as it may have been, the warden of the school issued the Sheikh a glowing report. Mohammed's willingness to identify himself in every way with his watch and his good command of the English language made him a very popular member of his group. The most impressive part of his performance was his willingness to involve himself fully in all the routine chores. He is strong, both mentally and physically, and his personality is such that in a quiet way he is able to get on with practically everybody. A first-class performance. Sheikh Mohammed was marked particularly high for determination, conscientiousness, and, perhaps most telling of all, industriousness. Finally, Sheikh Mohammed enrolled at the Mons Officer Cadet School, a prestigious training facility for future British Army commanders. Given the rigour of the course, British officials made it clear to Sheikh Mohammed and his father, Sheikh Rashid bin Saeed Al Maktoum, then ruler of Dubai, that it would not be easy. One wrote, "I told Rashid that the training was pretty tough, worse than prison, since I thought it was as well to get the disciplinary aspects of the ideas clear from the beginning." He was much amused by this and said Mohammed would endure all of it. He continued, "This is altogether too good an opportunity to cast away." Mohammed himself is extremely keen to go to Mons. He is physically well up to it, and his English now compares favourably with that of Arab officers who have returned from Mons. An early report from the institution noted that Sheikh Rashid wanted nothing special for his son, only the same training and treatment as everyone else. This was indeed the case. One of the instructors wrote in a letter that one eager sergeant major, not knowing who Sheikh Mohammed was, had him moving in very quick time within a short time of arrival, including having his beard removed, according to British military rules and regulations. I hope we have not offended against any custom, but Mohammed seemed quite happy about it. The 1968 UK trip was a short episode in the varied life of the Sheikh, but it is nonetheless an insight into the early potential and character of a man who would eventually become one of the most recognisable global leaders around. He became ruler of Dubai in 2006, but details from his early life are still a reminder that the journey to becoming an effective leader starts from the earliest years. And even before 2006, Sheikh Mohammed played an important role in engaging with the UAE's international colleagues. Exactly 20 years after his trip to the UK, he would be receiving British leaders at key geopolitical moments. A 1988 letter from then British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher made specific thanks to Sheikh Mohammed, particularly for his and the UAE's help for a British naval operation. Scaling Britain's foggy hills, swimming in its freezing cold seas and generally living in its rugged conditions, might not make everyone enamoured with the country. But the other key aspect of Sheikh Mohammed's time in the UK was that it was the beginning of his deep friendship with the country. 2022 is a particularly special year for this to be remembered, as Queen Elizabeth II, a friend of Sheikh Mohammed, celebrates her Platinum Jubilee. The UAE is remembering not just the strong bilateral ties it has with the UK, but also its deep personal ones.
The outward-bound Moray Sea School existed between the years of 1949 and 1976, and during this time approximately 25,000 young people would have come through the doors of the school. It was on the 15th of April 1968 on course M178 that Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum's month with the Outward Bound Trust would have commenced. It was a sea school, so a lot of the activities were sea-based around the harbour of Berghead. The participants would have spent days, maybe even a week, on one of the cutters that we owned, sailing across the Mauritius Firth. And back on land, there was focus on rock climbing, expeditions, abseiling, and the participants would have been involved in the mountain rescue activities at the time. It was heavily focused on fitness. It was also swimming, cycling, judo, and it was heavily focused on teamwork as well. So it wasn't just an individual course. Participants were put into watches or patrols of 12 people, and they would have had activities that would focus on their teamwork, on their compassion for others, on their leadership skills, how they encouraged others and worked with respect to get through the course together. Activities from the Moray Sea School moved across to Lochiel in the mid-70s, and Lochiel is one of our 6 centres that operate in the United Kingdom today. We encourage our participants to defy their limitations through